It was another rough night for the Brooklyn Nets here at the Barclays Center as they fell to their East River rivals, the New York Knicks, 113-83 here in Brooklyn. I'm Dexter Henry for NetsDaily.com, joined by our writer Reed Wallach to talk to me a little bit about Nets basketball. And Reed, this was the first time in Nets history where the Nets were blown out in 2 consecutive home games by 20 or more points. That's hard to believe. But let's talk about what went wrong for the Brooklyn Nets tonight.
Well, everything really went wrong. It was a wire-to-wire win for the Knicks. The Nets went down by 15 in the first. They never got into a flow. Then the second quarter, they cut it to 3. You think, okay, maybe we got a game on our hands. They start using the pick and roll, using their advantage on size, but they just never defended the 3. It never happened. The Knicks shot 16 of 27 from 3, unconscious. Iman Shumpert went on a spurt of 3 straight threes in the third. The Nets just failed to defend, and it supports they're ranked 30th in defensive efficiency on the season, and this failure is going to keep haunting them. It happened in Denver, or against Denver on Tuesday, and it's going to continue to happen if they don't make a commitment to defense.
Commitment to defense is something we heard after the game from both head coach Jason Kidd and Kevin Garnett. They said those are 2 areas the Nets definitely need to get better in, and let's take a listen to what they had to say in their post-game remarks.
We're trying different schemes, man. We're trying to defend the paint, obviously, keep the paint, and our teams are shooting the ball very well. You look at every team that shoots the 3, they've had success shooting the 3 against us, and we haven't done a very good job of that.
Well, I think we're up with the bigs in the pick and roll, and we're trying to take care of the ball. And again, with practice time, with injuries, we're not whole, so we're trying to do it through walkthrough, but we'll get better at it. And besides what we've changed, we got to look at the 3-point line. You look at the last 6 games, we've given up the 3 a little bit too much in that sense, and so we got to address that.
So the areas the Nets definitely need to get better in is defending the 3-point shot. Obviously, Reed brought up 16 threes they allowed by the Knicks tonight. That's never good, something you don't want to see. And then defending the pick and roll or establishing the pick and roll themselves. The Nets aren't healthy right now. That's something else we've heard, Reed, from head coach Jason Kidd and Kevin Garnett. They want to see the team whole before we can fully judge them. But how do they get better? Is it more effort that we need to see, or is it something else they need to do to get better?
Well, obviously the third quarter is an issue, and effort aside, it's just a matter of going out and making plays. They come out sluggish, they come out running their isolations, and it clearly doesn't work. And by the time Jason Kidd calls a timeout or tries to establish some sort of idea, they're down by double digits. It's out of reach because the Nets aren't athletic enough to come back in big spurts. They just dig themselves too deep of a hole to come out of. So what they have to do is they really need to have a game plan for each quarter. They need to establish the pick and roll and keep going to it. In the second quarter, like I said, they went to it. Brook Lopez had 16 points in the first half. But then in the third quarter, they decided to just pull up for threes, try to match the Knicks every shot. But the Nets weren't falling and the Knicks shots were. So the rest is history.
The rest was history in this loss, 113-83. And Reed mentioned the third quarter, which was not a good one for the Brooklyn Nets. They were outscored 34-16, so not a good quarter for them there at all. And that's been a struggle we've been talking about since last year here on Nets Daily. Health is another concern. This team is not healthy right now, Reed. We've spoken about this time and time again. You heard from KG, you heard from Coach Kidd about the team getting whole before we can fully judge them. What's the update on the health status of some of the players here on the Nets? I know you have some news about Darren Williams.
Well, during the game, Billy King said that Darren Williams should be available Tuesday in Boston, so only one more game against the Eastern Conference worst team, Milwaukee. And then Tuesday, he should be back in Boston. Besides that, Andre Kirilenko says he might be good to go, but they're obviously very cautious with his back. Jason Terry with his bruised knee. No one knows the status on him. He's going to be reevaluated Monday at the soonest. And Paul Pierce obviously will not be back for his return to Boston with the broken hand. He's out another 2 to 4 weeks.
Right. It's a tough situation for the Nets. They're going to try to get healthy. They're going to try to right the ship. But I think the thing that we see on Twitter and we hear from fans is that they're not liking the effort right now. And it's not acceptable to lose in the fashion they've done in these last 2 home games. I think that's what's been the most disappointing thing for the fans. Got to thank Reed Wallach for joining me here on NetsDaily.com. It's not a happy recap for the Brooklyn Nets with this 113-83 loss to the New York Knicks, but they will look to bounce back and get things right on track as they look to get healthy. For Reed Wallach, I'm Dexter Henry for NetsDaily.com.